Alright, so I'm gonna give this a go on my first video here. Basically, all we're gonna talk about is essentially what I think the Oilers roster is gonna look like. I've got a whiteboard. It's actually Amy's whiteboard, but I'm stealing it. I don't know if you guys can really see it. It's kind of hard to see, but essentially all I've done here is I've laid out basically left wing, centers, right wings, and what our D look like. I threw in a couple of the guys that I think might actually have a chance at making the roster. Guys like Yamamoto. I have Ratty on there, and I'll explain when I get down to here why. But guys like Benson are on here. I've even got Bouchard and Bear off our defense there. Not necessarily saying that they're absolutely going to make the roster, but I think they have a chance to. Goaltenders, I've listed all three. I think we know it'll probably be Talbot and Koskinen. We'll see kind of what happens with that. But a couple of things I want to talk about on here. I do have Nugent Hopkins as a center on here, just because that's his actual position. It's as simple as that. And I know I have an Eskimo hat on, so I get that. I don't know where my Oiler hat went. I think I probably threw it on the ice during one of McDavid's hat tricks. I don't know. Anyways, I do have Nugent Hopkins as a center there. And when we get down to the opening night roster, I'll kind of develop that a little bit more and go into that. Other than that, there really isn't any, I guess, red flags on here. There's probably a couple of players in this area that are on this list but probably won't make the roster, like I said earlier. Same thing with the defense. I've got Sekera on here as well, because he is technically on the team, but he's on long-term injured reserve, so that doesn't really surprise me there, which is why we brought in Zerbeck. I think that's how you say his name. We signed him the other day there, so I think that's a good signing. But anyways, we're not really going to talk about signings or anything there. We're going to just jump right into what I think the opening night roster is going to be. So that's not... I'm talking there's no injuries. What I think the roster is going to look like when they go, is it Sweden? When they play in Sweden. So, yeah, I guess we'll start with the first line here. Basically, all I'll do is I'll put the line down, and then I'll discuss it basically. So, yeah, so we'll start with the first line. We'll start with the center. There shouldn't really be any surprises with this one, but so first line center. Again, no surprise. I've got Connor McDavid. If you can kind of read that chicken scratch, but yeah, I've got Connor McDavid there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I'm going to do another video on what I think like point projection kind of thing's going to be. I know everyone's already done that, and I kind of like to give my feedback on that after everybody else, because you can kind of compare, you know, you can get your own thoughts off of that, off your own opinions and stuff. So, yeah, no doubt McDavid on the first line center. We'll go left wing. Again, shouldn't really be a surprise. I've got Nuge on the left wing. I mean, he finished last year there. He was on pace for like 72 points or something, so that shouldn't really be a big surprise that he's there either. I think I know, again, I have him up here as a center because that's his actual position, but I think if he plays a full year with McDavid, who knows what can happen there, right? Again, we'll get into point projections, but he could easily be a point per game kind of guy. Right wing. Now this one's going to get some resistance, I think, but I think it's something that we should try. I've got Ratty on the right wing. I don't think it's because he necessarily is the best guy. I think he did well there, and he's a value contract, and I think that that's something that we have to try. That can easily change. I think Ratty could easily be replaced by well, really, any of these guys. I think Reeder's got a chance there. I don't know if Reeder's really going to be a first line right wing, but I mean, I have Ratty in there, so Reeder's possible. What I'd like to see, and I think what most Oilers fans would like to see, is Puljujärvi jump in there, just simply because we need him to excel, right? It's going into a contract year for him too here, so we need him to actually excel. Yamamoto, I mean, if he lights it up in camp, I mean, we might see him get a chance there, but I would much rather see Ratty go there and allow these two, time to push up, right, and develop, especially Yamamoto. Oilers have done that far too many times where they force guys in when they shouldn't have, right? So that's our first line. That's what I think the opening night roster is going to be. I think that might change, but I think that's the opening night first line. Second line, center really, again, is no real surprise. We're going to Leon there. I don't think that's really a surprise for anybody. I think Leon Draisaitl is a fantastic first line center on most teams, to be honest with you. You're going to find most of my videos that they're going to be biased. I mean, I'm an Oilers fan. That's just how it is. I try to be as fair as possible. I'm going to have videos where I compare two players, McDavid versus Matthews, whatever. Right? I'm going to have some of those videos there. But I'm biased, but I'm pretty fair. Or at least I try to be. So someone like Leon Draisaitl there, second line center. I think he can be a first line center on a lot of teams. That's a good 1-2 punch there. So I don't think that's any question at all. That is likely going to be our second line guy. Now things get a little bit weird. Left wing, I'll get some slack for this too, probably. But again, this is opening night roster. I've got Milan Lucic. Because we have to. I mean, if we start this guy, he's $6 million. We start this guy in the third line. We're not even giving him a chance to bounce back from last year, and last year was crap, right? We all know that. So, put Lucic there, give him an opportunity to excel. I mean, he had a good first half of the year, and I mean that second half was crap. I mean, Oilers fans everywhere, NHL fans in general, don't need to be told that. So, but I do think he starts on that second line, regardless of what his camp looks like. I think he does come back in. I think he does bounce back, and kind of progresses back to the 50-55 point range there. I don't know how long he'll keep that up, but I do think that he will do that this year. I'll do another video similar to this where I think, the bounce back type of players, who I think is going to bounce back, who I think is going to have a better year, things like that. This, again, is just simply listing what I think the opening night roster is going to be in Sweden, barring any injuries or anything. So that's the right wing there. This one is a hopeful, but I think it's doable. And I know a lot of people don't like his nickname, but I just don't want to spell out his full name here. I don't got a lot of board. Pool Party or Puljujärvi. I think that's the most ideal situation with the Oilers. If Ratty can work out here, I think Pool Party can slip in there nicely. He's got the size. I mean, he fits. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the skill. He does. He just needs to. There needs to be some consistency, and that has to come from the coaching staff. Who knows really what's going to happen there. I like that what they did with the coaching staff, and there'll be another video on that as well, on my take on the changes that have happened here as we enter camp now. So there's your first two forward lines. Now line 3, again, I think center's pretty obvious, and I think our center depth is awesome. A lot of I don't know. I've talked to a lot of people. They don't really like Ryan Strome. That's who I got as my third guy. A lot of people didn't like him, but we got the Ryan Strome that we got, right? We knew giving up, Eberle, and we've had this conversation numerous times, right? We knew what we were getting with Strome, and I think he produced exactly the way that he needed to produce. I don't have any issues with what he does. Again, in the projection video, I think I'll peg him in probably around the 33, 34 point mark, so I'll be happy. If he exceeds that, then great. But third line center, that's pretty good production. Left wing, I'm gonna go with Kajula. I'm not gonna spell his full name. I just don't have the board space. I'm gonna go with Kajula on the left wing there in the third. I think there's a good chance that he he's the best bet for that position. We just signed him. There's talks of trades coming in for him, and us going after someone like Justin Falk, which I'll get to that. But I do think third, because the other option really is he's not going to go first line. There's no way you start him over Lucic starting the year. I mean, maybe later on in the year it switches out, but if Lucic struggles and Caggiula can, excel, but really, Lucic should outperform Caggiula. So, he's my third left wing. The right side here, this could change too. But I think based off of what they need to do, and what the opening night roster should look like, I think it's going to be Tobias Rieder. There's a lot of talk about Tobias Rieder going up and playing with Leon, and yeah, I like the whole German connection thing, but at the end of the day, Rieder's on a 1 year, so let's put him on this line. There's tons of skill. There is skill on this line. I mean, Caggiula and Strome both are good hockey players. I don't think Caggiula's been what Chiarelli's wanted, but he's a depth player. This could easily switch if Pool Party struggles, or Ratty struggles. Ratty, in all truthfulness, he's first liner. He's nothing. He's not going to be a depth player. If he doesn't make it work with Connor, then he's out. Very easily, this could switch. Puljujarvi and Rieder could switch around, and I think that's devastating for Puljujarvi going into a contract year. I think no matter what, the Oilers sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. But nonetheless, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Is Rieder starts on that third line. Fourth line, pretty simple. It leaves kind of the rest of the players here. What do we got here? We got Kyle Brodziak there. So I don't really need to talk too much about him. We know what we get with him. I know I didn't put on this list. Oh God, I didn't put any of the PTOs on this list or anything like that. So I'm not, because they're not officially on this team. So Upshall is not on this list, but I mean, if he makes the team, then I see him sliding in here anywhere, right? But that's an easy fourth. Our center depth is awesome. I really actually like that. That's pretty good. So from here, we go left wing. Jujhar Khaira, I think, had a really good year last year. Again, I don't think there's any debate on that. I don't know if you really want to put him into a third line role. I think that's kind of pushing it, but Jujhar Khaira, yeah, I like him on that fourth line. Can you imagine him, Brodziak, and Kassian could be a good one, but I do think it's probably going to be Khaira, Brodziak, and Kassian. But if Upshall makes it, these two, Brodziak and Upshall, have good chemistry. So, but our fourth line, that makes pretty good sense, and of course that Kassian is going to be our right wing. So there's your forwards. Again, not much to really say about Kassian. That fourth line will be a good grinding line. I think we'll talk about projections later again, but that's an okay. If everybody performs to where they can, that's not a bad forward group. It's not great, but it's not bad. Your center depth is set. If these guys perform to what they can, that's not horrible. Defense, this is where things get a little weird. So I'll start your first pairing left side. I might get slack for this. I might, but I'm gonna go with Klefbom. I think a healthy Klefbom on the left side there. He can run the power play. He can do what he truly can do. And I'm not 100% sold on Klefbom. There's a lot of people that are, Klefbom, he can do what he can do in 16-17 when we made the playoffs there. That was really the first year that he really truly actually did anything. Every other year he battled injuries, so he's supposed to be coming in all 100% healthy this year. So we'll see. I would love for Klefbom to pan out, but I think he's on his last leg here. if Clefbaum doesn't do what he should, and get 35, 40 points or more even, he might be on his way out. They might restart somewhere. That's possible. But opening night, Clefbaum starts on that left wing. On the right side, I think you got to go with Larson. There was a lot of slack on him last year. I watched these guys live quite a bit. Larson's a physical guy. You know what you're getting with him. I think there's a lot of talk. Oh, he can get more offense. Well, no. Like, you start changing the guy's game, you're hooped, right? Jason Smith was not an offensive guy. This guy, Larson's a hit. He's a hitter. He's physical. He's good in the corners. I think what happened last year is you had Clefbaum, who couldn't do anything defensively because of his shoulder, and it forced Larson to do a little bit too much. So I think there's some time for that. But I do think he starts there, and again, we'll have a bounce back video, but I think that's a good bet there. Second left wing. This is pretty simple. You got Darnell Nurse. Nurse on the left side. He might even push Clefbaum for that top ring. Assuming the Oilers get a deal done here sooner than later, which I think they will. And I think with Sekera on LTIR, the Nurse deal's going to be happening pretty quick here, I think. So Nurse on the left side there. Big step forward last year. Kind of slugged off near the end, but there was nothing to really play for, right, other than Connor getting points at that point, really. So Nurse on the left side, I think that's comfortable. I think he'll get more power play time too. So right side. Now this is where there's a lot of people that want me to put Ethan Bear here. A lot of people, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to put Bear here. I will put Benning though. Matt Benning. I like Matt Benning. He's 22 or 23 here, and he took strides forward offensively last year. Look, you're going to talk about him, he was bad defensively, he was this, he said, yeah, well, like, everybody was bad defensively here. We sucked last year, right? So, Benning on that right side, this is why I like it, because it doesn't force Ethan Bear or Evan Bouchard into that spot, right? It allows these two to develop more, and he can handle that right side. He can do it. So it allows that to happen. That's why I like Benning there. Maybe he gets a little bit of power play time. I don't know. I think Nurse will take more power play time, Nurse and Clefbaum over Benning, but this allows us, obviously he has to go in there and perform, but this allows us to kind of ease these two guys in there. Maybe one or both of them get 9 games. Maybe, but if not, it's not the end of the world because Benning can step in there, right? Our third pairing, left side, I'm going to have Chris Russell. Now, I know Russell last year played a lot on the right side. And that's not actually where he plays. He's supposed to be on the left. So I do have him playing on his natural left side. I have that because that's where he does the best work, right? I love Chris Russell. I think he's a gutsy guy. He's got heart. I know he gives up a lot of opportunities, but he blocks everything too. So, you get what you get with Chris Russell. If you look at the analytics and the statistics behind it, he's not the best NHL defenseman, but when you watch him live and you watch what he does and what he brings to the table, I like him. He's one of our better guys. And then of course that leaves our right side, and I'm gonna get slack for this probably, but I'm probably gonna get slack for this. So one of two things will happen here. So I'm gonna have Jurbeck penciled in there, and I really hope I'm saying his name back correctly. I don't think I've ever seen him play, and if I have, I don't think he's ever stood out to me. What'll probably happen here, honestly, is we'll start Jurbeck on this side, but these two will probably swap. Is probably what'll end up happening because Russell's fine playing on the right side if Jurbeck struggles. So now, the red flags that everybody's going to say to me is, well, what about these two? Well, I've already talked about them. we picked him up as a replacement for Andre Sekera. That's what we did. So if he fits in there and he does well and he can move the puck, he can move the puck. It's one of his things. And we don't have to put these two guys in there. I don't want either one of those guys playing this year. You know, unless they absolutely have to, right? Maybe they light it up and they do play and everything's awesome. But I don't. Ideally, I want these guys to perform and stay healthy and allow these guys to play down. Right? I think Bouchard gets 9 games. If at Bear, we already know he needs to work on some stuff. And from videos that I've watched of Bouchard, he needs to work on some stuff too. But I mean, he's 18 years old. So this is my opening night roster. There's some holes there. There's some things that need to be worked on. Goaltending, we kind of touched on. Talbot Koskinen, no doubt about it. I wouldn't be surprised if Koskinen pushes for that job. But I'd be even less surprised if Talbot stepped up his game and prevented that from happening. So goaltending, I'm not really going to touch on too much. But this opening night roster, there's some areas that I think players can come in and steal spots. You got Tyler Benson, you got Kailer Yamamoto. There's other guys, but those are the two that I think are the closest. And based off of what I'm reading, that's a consensus on that. So I do think if Ratty struggles, likely Yamamoto can step in there. Poop Party goes up, Yamamoto on the second. Again, you're betting on two young guys. One guy that hasn't developed as quickly as you wanted, and another guy that has got the skill, but you don't want to force him in, right? And then you got Tyler Benson, who I think might fit down in here somewhere. Briefly touch on a trade rumor that I've read about a couple of times since the Justin Folk coming over here deal. With almost $5 million cleared up because Sekera's on LTIR, and I'm not sure if he has to miss 10 games or not. I don't think that's the case because Arizona takes on everybody's LTIRs and they have tons of salary. So I think that Benson comes in if Caggiula gets traded, because there's a rumor going around that basically Caggiula gets bundled in with like a couple of picks basically and a couple of things there for Justin Folk. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, I think but we have to see what Tyler Benson can do. We have to see what he does here. We have to kind of be patient on that. And again, not force a young guy in there. So that's why Benson and Yamamoto are on here, but they're not down here. Because ideally, we want this group to work it for a year and get us back to the playoffs and at least contend. And then all of a sudden, next year, these guys all have even more experience to come in. So, yeah, that's basically my first video. I don't really have too much more to say about this. This isn't really a breakdown video other than of just the opening night roster. I will be making another video probably soon, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's going to be the projection video. I think it might be. It'll probably be what I think each player will project point-wise, strictly point-wise, not goals and assists, just total points, right? So I'll probably do that tomorrow. After that, I'll probably touch on basically the guys that are going to have a bounce back here. I'll do that all in the same video, who I think will be a bounce back candidate. And there's a lot of them. The Oilers have a lot. And yeah, from there, I mean, basically that's pretty much what this channel is going to be, is me just shooting the shit about the Oilers, right? Yeah, I mean, obviously subscribe if you can subscribe, and we'll kind of talk some more later. All right.